Hello and welcome to the March 21st, 2017 version of our webinar. Today we're talking about managed admin services. We'd like to welcome everyone, especially my guest over here, Joe Bohac. I'm Brad Gleeson. I'm Vice President of Client Development here at Fpweb.net. And Joe, of course, is our Manager of Customer Support. So let's talk about what we're going to talk about today. And those things are why companies need admin help. We'll also talk a little bit about how a managed admin provider can meet that need. What to look for in a managed admin provider. We'll take questions as we always do, and we'll give away a $50 Amazon gift card at the end of our webinar today. So let's look at a few different reasons companies need admin help. Joe and I will role play a little bit using some of the reasons our clients have told us, things that have happened to them. So you can also click your raise your hand button if this rings true for you at any point during our role play. So we get to do some old time radio today, Joe, and kind of go through this and play like we're a CEO and somebody also that's in the workforce. So let's go ahead and get started with that. I'm going to be playing the role of the CFO or CEO, and Joe's going to be the CIO or who might be the manager in that IT admin, whoever that reports to, that IT admin reports to. So here we go.
All right. Brad, my admin just gave 2 weeks. Somebody offered him a job, paying him double what we do.
I mean, not again, right?
Oh, no, I wish I was kidding. And it was just when we got this guy up to speed on everything that we're doing here. We got him working on getting us a new help desk system for our ticketing system, and also, actually working on getting us an upgrade to our intranet. So,
how far is this going to set us back?
Brad, we're talking 6 weeks, depending on how long it takes and how much expertise that new person is that I find. I'll get the job description posted. I'll do that now, but I think we need to increase that pay range too, since it took us long to fill this last time. In fact, we should probably talk about hiring a second admin, or at least an admin and an assistant, because as good as our current admin was, as the workload increased, his responsiveness, it actually decreased. And bringing in somebody new, that's going to be the same workload.
So, honestly, we can't budge on salary right now because there's no room for it in the budget. And for additional personnel there, it's just not going to happen. Okay, so I see a few hands raised where that scenario obviously sounds familiar to a few people out there as far as that's concerned.
Yep. All right, so here's another scenario. This time I'm the IT admin at a company, and I'm talking to Brad, who will be my CIO or whoever I report to.
Got it, will do.
Okay. Brad, I'm getting buried with help desk requests and putting out small fires that keep popping up. I realize it's part of my job, but it's keeping me from doing the other part of my job, which is the bigger projects, the things that are going to make things easier for the staff to work more efficiently. I need help. Can we hire another admin?
Nope. Sorry. I mean, with the rising cost of healthcare insurance, it's not the salary as much as it's the benefits included in a new position that make it, a real non-starter at this point. All right, it looks like even more hands went up during that one, so I think that one rings true for quite a few as well. Mm-hmm. So let's do another one.
All right, here's a third example. I'm the boss, I'm the CIO, the president, whatever, and I'm talking to my CFO, who will be played by you, Brad.
Okay.
All right. Hey, Brad, I just went and had lunch with some of my CEO buddies, and all they kept talking about was how much money they're saving by going to the cloud. How much money are we spending maintaining our servers?
Quite a bit, actually. That reminds me, we need some more new ones.
Well, I tell you what, why don't you go get some pricing on some hosting options?
Okay, gladly. Most of our data should be stored off-site in a more secure, redundant environment than our server room downstairs, anyways. To be honest.
You know what? Speaking of downstairs, how big is that IT staff?
We have 3 admins, and they each take a shift so that we have a help desk support around the clock.
Well, I tell you what, when you're looking at those cloud hosting providers, see if they get some sort of support with them that we could need.
All right, so there were 3 examples right there. There was an admin that left, there was the admin that needs help, and there's been there's been that bean counter that I played, wondering about, and I like playing with that money anyway, so that came natural to me, about outsourcing support and moving to the cloud. So now let's look at how a managed admin provider can meet those needs.
All right, sure. All right, so if you look at our first example of why companies need admin help, which was the one where I played a CIO who just lost his company's admin. A managed admin provider can fill that gap. If you're a resource down and don't have time to search and interview and hire and onboard a new admin, a managed admin provider can trim that time significantly by adding a team of experts to your team instantly. If you look at my second example of why companies need admin help, which was where I played an admin who just needs help, a managed admin provider can expand your team. That managed admin provider can not only significantly reduce the time spent searching and interviewing and hiring and onboarding a new team member, but it's a lot easier to retain that managed admin provider than it is to retain a full-time employee when recruiting companies are always pulling them away from us. So that's two. Now let's go to the third one. Actually, I have more on that.
Okay.
Now that I think about it,
All right.
there's more to this. When you go to that person, that extra person at that team, you don't have to worry about healthcare insurance or any other full-time employee benefits that you have with that admin provider. And depending on the admin provider that you go to, they might be more responsive than your own employees are. And, like for example, with Fpweb.net, we can react 24/7 within 6 minutes. That initial response, you call us, you talk to us on the phone, or you do a ticket, you're not getting an auto response. You're actually getting an engineer talking to you.
Okay.
So that I just want to make sure we cover that. Brings me to my last example on why companies need an admin, which is one where I played the CEO, and you were looking to outsource support in the admin. A managed admin provider can consolidate those roles. So if you need support around the clock, that's exactly what you're going to get from a managed admin provider like us. Whereas you typically get 40 hours a week out of one employee, and they're working Monday through Friday, 9 to 5.
Yeah, you just touched on what I wanted to ask you next when you said a managed admin provider like Fpweb provides support around the clock. So that isn't the case with all admin providers. And what are some of the other, what are some of the other differentiators one should look at when comparing managed admin providers?
Well, I would say it's hard for me to say what all managed admin providers are doing. If they're 24/7. But if that is a priority for you, then you better make sure that that's on your list, your checklist with that provider. Some other things that you might want to consider on your checklist. Where is that support? Is an overseas call center sufficient for you, or do you want or do you need USA-based support? What level of expertise are you looking for? Do you want an engineer taking that call when you call in, or do you want somebody like Bill in our marketing department, who is only capable of taking your name and number and having somebody give you a call within the week? So, I kid about Bill, but in seriousness, that level of expertise and that responsive time, that's important, right? Is a week turnaround fast enough, or do you want to talk to somebody today? Also, what do you need your admin to do? If it's mainly working on printers and phones and working through all those kind of things, a managed admin service with tons of expertise and Microsoft certifications and application management might be more than what you need. But if you are doing something complicated like a SharePoint migration, or you want to get data retention going and you need to set up backups, you need to look at your checklist and talk to that admin provider and see if this is something that they include. So what are their strings attached? That's a big one that we hear. Does that mean that I have to get my managed admin support only if I'm hosting with you? Or can I go anywhere and still get this? Can I be on-prem? Can I be on another cloud, public, private? Also, are you guys doing the work yourselves, or are you actually sending that out to a third party to actually do the work? That's something that you want to ask. And then the last thing that kind of comes to mind for me is if you do need help and you need some variety of tools to get that done, and your admin provider says to you, well, we're locked in with a relationship with a certain vendor, there might be some serious limitations there on what they can do for you. So those are things you want to think about.
Well, Joe, that was a great checklist of what to look for in a managed admin provider. So Joe mentioned the location of support. That's a big one if you've ever experienced any aggravation with an offshore call center. He also touched on the level of expertise that's important if you've ever experienced any frustration with explaining your problem, only to be transferred to 5 different people who then have to explain your problem to somebody else again from the beginning each and every single time. A response time may sound like something that can wait until the next business day also, but that's only going to be that way until it's business critical for you, and then you're going to need that help now. When Joe asked what you need help with, that's a great place to start, because your managed admin needs to be the perfect fit. And then the strings attached question, that's a can of worms, and that can have serious implications on the level of service available to you, especially when you're dealing with the companies that have locked-in vendors. Locked-in vendors typically aren't the best situation for an end client. So let's revisit scenarios that we started with, and this time we'll apply the managed admin option to each of those to see how managed admin services could help. So Joe, if you remember, the first one was you as the CIO or HR director telling me, the CEO, that our IT admin is leaving.
All right, okay, here we go. My admin just gave 2 weeks. Somebody just offered him double the money we're paying him.
Okay, so not again.
Yes, again. And this is just when we got the guy up to speed. He was working on our new ticketing system with us. He was revamping our intranet. We knew we were going to go to a newer version. This isn't good.
Okay. So how far is this going to set us back?
Brad, at least 6 weeks, because depending on who I find and what their expertise is, and I'll get that job post out there now, but I think we really need to talk about increasing that starting pay, that pay range, since it took so long to fill this spot last time. In fact, maybe we should try to hire 2 admin, right? Or maybe an admin and an assistant, because as good as the last admin was, that responsiveness got slower and slower as the workload increased. And we both know that workload is going to be there from day one when he starts.
Yeah, it's not going to change. Well, what about a managed admin provider? I mean, we could get a whole team of experienced IT engineers on demand to fill that gap right away. It will include help desk support and the migration to an updated version of SharePoint.
Yeah, that actually sounds great.
Okay, good. That was applying managed admin services to the first scenario of the IT admin leaving. All right, so in the second scenario, which resonated with so many of our folks that were listening earlier, Joe played the role of IT admin going to a supervisor asking for help.
Right, and it started like this. I'm getting buried with help desk requests, putting out small fires that keep popping up. I realize it's part of my job, Brad, but I can't do the other part of my job, which is the bigger projects. They'll help everybody work more efficiently. I need help. Can we hire another admin?
No, we can't. With the rising cost of health insurance, it isn't the salary as much as the benefits included in a new position that will make this a non-starter.
Well, what if we hired a managed admin service provider to help and took the benefits off the table?
Well, I don't know. That sounds even more expensive, doesn't it?
Actually, a managed admin provider would actually be substantially less expensive than paying a full-time employee. And they have a team of their own. And that team, they can take the day-to-day stuff off my plate and free me up to innovate and focus on the projects that are strategic to our core.
Okay, so that was a managed admin services applied to the second scenario of the IT department needing to expand its team. Now, we'll do that last scenario again. In the third one, I played the part of the CFO, or the bean counter. Joe is the CEO and is asking me about simplifying infrastructure by moving to the cloud and consolidating roles with outsourced managed admin services.
That's right, and it went like this. Hey Brad, I just had lunch with some of my other CEO buddies, and they were all telling me how much money they're saving by moving to the cloud. How much money are we spending maintaining our servers?
Quite a bit. As a matter of fact, that reminds me, unfortunately, we need some new ones again.
All right. Get some pricing together for some cloud hosting options.
Gladly. I mean, most of our data should be stored off-site in a more secure, redundant environment than our server room downstairs.
Speaking of downstairs, how big is our IT staff?
You know what? We have 3 admins, and they each take a shift so that we have a help desk support person around the clock.
Sounds good. I tell you what, when you're looking at these cloud hosting options, see if they provide some kind of support that we'll need.
It looks like a managed admin provider can provide the around-the-clock availability for a fraction of the cost of 3 full-time employees that would be needed to provide that level of coverage.
All right.
So that was managed admin services applied to the third scenario of the CEO and the CFO looking to consolidate. So these kinds of scenarios led us at Fpweb.net to create a managed admin service that provides expert 24/7 USA-based absolute support on premises or in any cloud with a response time of 45 minutes if you're on-prem, 30 minutes in a public cloud, and of course we have a 6-minute SLA if you're hosted in Fpweb.net's dedicated private cloud. So to find out more about our managed admin services, please go to www.fpweb.net/managed-services and reach out to me at sales@fpweb.net or 866-780-4678 to discuss your unique situation. Now, I think it's about time to take some of those questions.
Okay.
So the first question is about the first question I always get when it's on the phone, and that's how much does it cost? Okay.
It always comes down to price, doesn't it?
Yeah, a lot of times it does. So yes, I'm glad that that was asked because it gives me the chance to say that, you know, it's really hard to compare prices because nobody puts their managed admin service pricing on their website except for Fpweb.net. We actually have it right there on www.fpweb.net/managed-services. I'll gladly tell you what that is now. It's $34.95 per month, which is about $5,000 less than the average U.S. salary for a systems admin plus benefits, according to salary.com. So the other thing here we get asked is, how many hours do you get with that? So that's also a great question that should come right after the first one. With our plan, it's unlimited use for a 40-hour FTE workload, full-time employee workload. So don't have to worry about keeping track of hours.
Right, and I'd like to jump in there and
Absolutely.
say the response is within 45 minutes if you're on premises, 30 minutes if you're a public cloud, or 6 minutes if you're hosted with us. Fpweb.net's dedicated private cloud 24/7, 365. From live, you get a live expert here in St. Louis, not an auto response like I was talking about before, no phone tree like you were talking about, and all you got to do is either submit a ticket or give us a call. Either way, you're going to get a live person.
So another question we got here is, how do I know I'm getting the right person for the right problem? I would say with us, we've managed about 1.9 billion logins since 1999. We've handled, well, shoot, how many different environments have we handled since that time?
We've seen thousands of scenarios. We've seen it all when it relates to the Microsoft stack. Our engineers are forever engaged in maintaining knowledge about our pre-existing environments that we maintain, but they're also learning new developments in the Microsoft world.
Gotcha. Another question we have here this afternoon, what is the commitment for that rate? So, you know, typically clients sign for 1 to 3 years because there's discounts the longer that you go, and people are trying to get pricing locked in at this point. So everybody has a unique need, and we'd love to talk to you about that need. We'll sit down and do a needs analysis so that both sides know exactly, you know, what those expectations are.
Right. We mentioned earlier that it's a set monthly rate, but it's worth repeating that unlike others where you prepay for a bank of hours and then constantly worry about your balance, how much money each support request is worth, the hours expire, and how much to spend on additional hours. Ours is the same price every month.
Got it. So what about another question? What about support with other things, like other stuff we might need support with? So our managed services build off the admin plan. We also have a DBA plan, our database administrator plan, that includes admin development. Development includes DBA and admin. Security includes all four. So for more info, you can also go to www.fpweb.net/managed-services.
And if you're looking for the web page and trying to figure out which plan will be best for you in your unique situation, you can just call Brad or
Vlad
or Vlad or Vlad or
whatever you want to
your
call me.
name
It
is.
doesn't matter. Yeah, it's okay. I've been called a lot worse. Trust me on that one.
Yes, but you can always reach out to you.
Excellent. We got one other question that I'd like to take too that came in. Is this opportunity similar to virtual assistants? You know, and that's a good question. And the reason why it's a good question is because it's different in the fact that you're actually talking to a live person with us, and that's a big plus. You know, yes, you're going to put in a ticket with us, but you know, in a lot of instances, people have issues where they're going to want to have that conversation with a live person.
Right.
And so with virtual assistant, that can go a long way, and we can also throw out frequently asked questions and issues that people have had. But you know, when it comes right down to it, everybody's circumstance is unique. And so that's the reason why, you know, with us versus virtual assistant, you have the opportunity to call us, pick up the phone, and you're not going to get a phone tree. And I can't overstate that. You know, I'm going to share something with you. I've just moved into a new place, and you know, setting up all those services that I have to, electric and so on and so forth. Everybody is on a call tree because they're trying to consolidate those services, but it's really frustrating to the client. So that's one of the pluses I would check off in our area if that's something that, you know, is important to you.
Totally agree.
All right, good. So what does your admin plan actually do? Can you give me some examples is another question that we have here. Okay, so good. 24/7 help desk, emergency break fix, training, tutorials, migration, upgrades. That migration is important too, because a lot of people don't include that. Upgrades, controlled patching, backup, restore, consulting. Joe, could you further elaborate on some of the common support requests our managed admin services provide? Because I know the list is quite hefty.
Yeah, no, for sure. You know, just adding users in your AD, or resetting passwords, or modifying permissions in SharePoint. Just going over all those kind of things that are end user requests that need to be taken care of managing the environment. You know, checking your disk space on your server, making sure that under the hood is running just as well as on top, right? You know, we gladly go over your SSL certification or your certificates with you and make sure we're keeping those up to date for you and things like that. So you got to think, like, if you're the admin, everything that you're doing in that role, everything that you're trying to manage day to day for your end users, groups, or departments that say, hey, I need access to this, or we want to create a list and library to do this, and we need workflows and all these kind of things. That's where you can actually turn that over, which is really good for us.
Excellent. There's a few other ones too. I mean, gosh, our list kind of...
Oh, yeah, I guess I should say there are tons and tons of things that we can do as far as just looking over your sites and making sure we got you covered. We're going to be looking at your performance, your RAM, your CPU, your storage, like I said, disk space alerts or anything like that, or even coming to you and saying, look, you know, you've been running this long as a 2-server farm. You really need to break out your app server and, you know, take those apps and put it somewhere else so you can let that web front end service all these requests that are coming in, you know, and actually push the SharePoint workflows and search and all those kind of services. We're going to move those over to an app server so that, you know, I don't want to get too down in the weeds here, but the idea is, right, there's so many different things we can do just to help you get the most out of your farm. So, and that's where we come in. And I know probably if you go out to our website, I think, right, managed-services,
right,
you can see that's
very long list of
so
different things that we do from a break fix standpoint, and then
Correct.
what some of our other services are included, with that as well. I've got one other question that we'll take since we do have just a couple more minutes. Is it a different person per support? So in other words, depending on what the support ticket is it a different person? I'm gonna start this, and then while you're thinking, maybe you can jump in.
Sure.
So if you're filling out a ticket, we're really good at making sure that the right person, for that potential issue is going to be the person who ultimately will take a call from you and talk to you one-on-one, so you're not having to go back through the same issue with a bunch of different folks. Okay, but ultimately, if you get somebody that you call directly without putting in a ticket for it, let's say, and you call, sure, in that scenario, then it would be, if they're not the person, if it's not a level 1 who can handle the problem, it needs to get escalated, that person is going to get, in-house, though, a person that's right here in our building is going to take that take that conversation. Are we on the right track?
Yeah, absolutely. Our support staff can do quite a bit of things for us, which is great. Having a knowledgeable support staff makes it more just than a call center, right? We're actually going to jump in and troubleshoot this with you right out of the gate. At that point, that decision will be made whether or not we're bringing in a specialist for whatever this issue is. And that'll happen pretty much in real time. So it's not really a transfer as much as is including someone else to help us with this project. To problem solve together.
Excellent.
So, yeah.
Well, I think that's all the time that we have for. Again, thank you so much, Joe, for joining in and helping out this afternoon. Obviously, we're going to send a recording of this webinar along with a link to register for our next webinar, which will build off of this one next week when our Manager of Managed Services, Eric Lowe, returns to talk about Managed DBA service. That's going to be at 1 p.m. Central Time, Tuesday, March the 28th. And now it's time to announce the winner of that $50 Amazon gift card, and that will go to Anthony Michael. Anthony Michael, congratulations, you're $50 richer this afternoon for joining us on the call. So thanks for doing that, and we'll see you next week.